Hi everyone, Group 1. Today we are going to talk about Neoclassical economics. My name is Li Xinye. My metric number is 2094A1. The first part is an introduction. Neoclassical economics is an form of classical economics while inheriting part of classical economics. Early neoclassical economics proposed new economic research method and laid the foundation for the development of modern microeconomics. We will discuss the main theory and contribution of early neoclassical economics represented by Marshall. The next part is the main theory and contributions. Marshall is considered one of the most influential economists of his time, mainly shaping mainstream economic thought for the next 50 years. He was one of the founders of the Neoclassical School of Economics. Marshall's opinions are broadly divided into three parts. Firstly, methodology. Partial equilibrium analysis is one of Marshall's most essential methodologies. The partial equilibrium analysis corresponds to the general equilibrium analysis method, which Marshall developed based on observing the general equilibrium analysis, and it has dramatic impact on the analyzing method. As we know, economic phenomena are very complex and difficult to study all things and their development and change. So he assumed that the behavior of particular market has small effect on the rest of economy. So feedback effect from the economic can be ignored. He divided things into several parts and countries only analyzed one part for a certain period. Next.
Hi, my name is Zhao Ke, invoice mention number is 204396, and next I will introduce the series of equilibrium price. And about this part, Marshall proposed the series of equilibrium price through the analyzed demand and supply. And he pointed out that when the supply and demand reached equilibrium, and the output and the price also reach out the equilibrium. And about the demand, Marshall think marginal unity means the price of demand. As the decrease desire sufficient increase, marginal unity decrease and marginal demand also decrease. About the supply price, the merchant think the mean influence of the supply of the production factor, it is changed low on the price. And we can look at this picture. In this picture, OX means the quality of the goods, OY means the price of the goods, and DD means the demand curve, and SS means the supply curve. And if the actual output is OR, when the demand supply RD is bigger, is greater than supply price RS. The output increase plus output point R will move to the right. Conservatively, the demand price RD is less than supply price RS. The production will unfavorable and the supply will decrease and R will move to the left. Under the change of supply and demand, it will be equilibrium if the R at the intersection of the supply and demand curves, which is point A. In this section, in this suggestion, the supply and demand are in equilibrium, and it was to see if the marketing price and the equilibrium price deviate from each other, they will recover to the equilibrium point by themselves, and adjustment to the demand and supply.
Hello everyone, my name is Bianya and my metric number is 209476. I will introduce the prices that deviate from cost of production consumer surplus. Another significant contribution that Alfred Marshall made to the field of economics was the concept the term the consumer surplus. Marshall thought that the excess of price which people would be willing to pay rather than go without the thing over that which people does pay is the economic measure of this surplus satisfaction. What this means is that often many people would be willing to pay more than the market price for goods because they perceive a high utility that they derive from the product, as shown by the graph basis. Therefore, these consumers enjoy an extra benefit, which is domesticated by the shaded region in the graph to the left. Michel used his ideas about consumer surplus to discuss market welfare, which is the study of how the allocation of economic goods and resources determine society's overall well-being. Therefore, he was able to analyze how taxation and price shifts would affect the overall well-being of consumers. It is clear that from principles like consumer surplus, Michel was interested in democratizing economics and felt that economics could be approached with um, ethical values in mind. And for price elasticity of demand, Michel proposed the concept of price elasticity of demand. Michel recognized that the slope of a demand curve was an inappropriate measure of price sensitivity to changes in quantity. A change in this unit of measurement changes the slope of the demand curve without changing the linear relationship between price and quantity demanded. Michel overcame this problem by driving the concept of elasticity of demand. Since the demand curve is always negatively sloped, the elasticity measure is negative. However, by convention, the negative sign is dropped. The formula is as follows. If the price decreases by a given percentage and the quantity demanded increases by a lower rate, total revenue decreases and the coefficient less one. The quantity is price elasticity.
This part is about the series of production. Michel conceived of 4 different periods of production. In the short run, some but not all elements of production can be varied. In the long run, all factors of production are variable. In a secular period, even technology and population are variable. For laws of return in the short run, Michel thinks law of diminishing returns. He thinks that adding any variable factor to fixed factor of production leads to diminishing marginal returns. Due to the principle of substitution, the firms maximize its profits by minimizing the cost of production of any given output. To minimize cost, the firm should substitute cheaper for more expensive inputs. For law of return in the long run, Michel identified that 4 possible patterns that might result of any industry expense in the long run: constant returns, increasing returns, and diminishing returns. Increasing returns to scales that are internal in origin can lead to the manipulation of markets as large firms develop lower cost structures than small firms, driving smaller competitors out of business. Michel believes that limited to internal economics exists and that marginal and organizational problems should eventually lead to internal economics that should increase in cost. Therefore, he believes that external economics likely cause the long run increasing return.
Students of classical economics. Before Michel's time, classical economics took down wheels and was more interested in microeconomics, which examines the markets through the ways of relation. Classical economics understood production costs as the most important factor in determining the price of a product, because it assumed that people were rational consumers. However, new classical such as Michel so that a consumer's perceived product value determines its market price. The difference between the cost of production and the actual market price was called economic price for neoclassical economists. Neoclassical thought could better account for how humans make decisions that divide from rational logic. In other words, it turned more towards behavioral science than pure math. For the conclusion, before the Marshall era, classical economics was concerned with examining markets through a country's overall wealth. Classical economists believe that production costs are the most important factor in determining product prices. However, the early classics represented by Marshall so that a consumer's perceived value of a product determined its market price. At the same time, many classical theorists put forward by the early classics represented by Marshall developed the research methods of economics and broadened the research field, laid the foundation for the development of modern microeconomics, and it had a great impact on formation of microeconomics. That's all for our group. Thanks for listening.